I imagine he'll be in New York for the Heisman and then for the college football playoff and at the national championship. But he's here with us every Monday morning on Off the Bench. Ross Dellenger. Ross, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning, y'all. And I will. I'm actually in New York right now for the Football Foundation Hall of Fame stuff over the next couple of days. But I'm not staying. I'm going to go back home. I haven't been home in 2 weeks, so you guys are going to have to do the Heisman without me. But I'll certainly be in Atlanta for the semifinal and so on.
Blah, whatever. Ross Dellenger here with us on Monday mornings. Atlanta was great. Sunday morning after the Tigers take care of Georgia. First off, did you expect LSU to dominate Georgia like they did?
No, I really didn't. I mean, I expected them to win, and I expected that it could be, 10, 14, maybe even 17 points. I did not expect 27 points and to do it in the way they did, which really was just a complete, to use a CFP committee term, game control, dominating victory. It was impressive, and it's why they went to number one. Rob Mullins said that it was a close debate, between LSU and Ohio State. I think in the end, it was the way both of those games Saturday went that probably tipped LSU into sliding into the one spot.
Do you think they got it right making that decision, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. And I've never, we do like a little top 10 every week on SI.com, and I've had LSU number one since they beat, I believe it was Auburn, and we moved LSU to number one after the Auburn victory, and haven't changed it since. And I don't know why they swapped in the first place. Honestly, I don't. They gave us a bunch of drama, I guess.
Which is, I guess, kind of, as you were saying, what they wanted. Ross Dellenger, Sports Illustrated. Ross, you tweeted this out either like Thursday or Friday, but it really stuck with me. You tweeted out a quote from Coach O'Day a couple of years ago. I read it in the first segment of the show today where O basically says a lot of people are going to laugh, but in a very short amount of time, LSU will be back in the SEC, in the Final Four, playing for national championships. You were there that night. When you think about that quote now and the journey from then to now, kind of what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I had one of I was there that night at the Coach O banquet in Larose, where his family and friends from down there in his hometown threw that thing, and it's supposed to be just a couple of tables outside, and it became like 1,200 or 1,300 people.
Yeah, it was great.
Showed up, and they had it was unbelievable, and I had one of his friends send me that earlier last week, and I remember him saying it on the stage, and it's pretty remarkable when you look back. There's probably been no coach that was doubted as much probably when he took over. It's funny, you have two coaches in the playoff, in Dabo Swinney and Ed Orgeron, who took over. Number one, took over as interims, and number two had never been coordinators basically before they took over, and they were both very doubted. There's clippings I've seen of newspapers of Dabo Swinney of headlines saying like, this is going to be a big miss and it's a bad move by Clemson doing this. It's really quite incredible that both of these guys have done what they've done.
Outside of the Final Four, there was a lot of stories around the SEC this weekend, including Lane Kiffin being announced as Ole Miss's next head football coach. You hear that? What was your reaction?
Well, I wasn't too shocked. I thought he was going to end up coming back to the SEC, but going back to Arkansas. That was kind of the buzz until about midweek last week. There was a buzz that swung to that Kiffin was going to come back, but now was going to be Ole Miss. It'll be interesting, man, because, well, first of all, he's playing Nick Saban once a year, which will certainly be entertaining. A guy who basically, Lane left his staff or Nick fired him before the playoff run because basically they weren't getting along. And 3 years was long enough for that marriage. it finally fell apart. So there's that, and then he'll play at Orgeron every year, and those two are really close. And they'd try to hire him at some point to be his offensive coordinator, and they remain close friends. So a lot of interesting coaching drama. Lane's going to do one thing or another, man. He's gonna be really successful and win pretty big, at least pretty big for Ole Miss, or he's just going to be a flaming failure, and it's going to be probably one or the other. It'll be interesting to watch things unfold there in Oxford.
So between him, Mizzou, Pittman, Arkansas, you had a lot of coaching hires this weekend. Do you think who do you think won the day? Maybe even, and you can put Lane in that group, but talk about some of these other hires as well.
Well, I'll give you a few lines on each hire. I think Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri is a risky play, just because he took over a really good, solid, strong App State team, and they did have success. They went 12-1, but that was his first and only head job.
Yeah.
So it's a little risky there. It'll be interesting that one, because it's again a guy who just really hasn't proven it over a long period of time as a head coach. The Sam Pittman hire is a fit hire more than anything. I think the guy is from that area. He's coached at Arkansas before. If you have seen and heard video clips of him, that man is going to fit into Fayetteville, Arkansas about as well as that Orgeron fits in Baton Rouge, which is very well. So that's a fit hire for sure. And Lane, like we talked about, it's such a risk-reward hire, and you wonder if he's grown up. I remember talking to an athletic director a few weeks ago. He asked me what I thought of Lane Kiffin, and he said, has he grown up yet? And my reaction was, have you seen his Twitter account? Have you looked over it? Because it'll tell you you'll answer a little bit of that question, but certainly we'll get the answer to that question maybe over the course of the next few months while Lane is back kind of in the spotlight at Ole Miss.
You got the headline quote in the postgame Saturday night, and it came from Joe Brady when you asked him, do you think you'll be at LSU next year? And he answered right directly to you, absolutely. How do you think this thing plays out with Brady in LSU over the next couple of weeks as finalizing this deal? His agent, Trace Armstrong, has been in contact with Scott Woodward in the athletic department.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything different from Joe Brady. By the way, that was the first time I've really talked to Joe in a group setting, and I know he talked over the summer with some reporters, and I've talked to him on the phone earlier this year for a magazine story. But he's polished.
Yeah,
I was impressed. I was really impressed. He's sharp, man, and but I didn't expect anything more from him than yes, I'll be there, because I've heard, I think, a lot of what you guys have heard, and that they've been in discussions. LSU's very confident about keeping him, and as you mentioned, Trace Armstrong got himself an agent. We reported that Saturday about Trace and him, and it's funny, ironic, because everybody knows there about LSU about Trace, and what happened a few years ago with Tom Herman. So, but anyway, they've certainly got into negotiations, sound like pretty deeply, and it sounds like the deal is all but signed. The only thing left to do kind of is that last part, which is a big part. But LSU seems really confident on his future, and has a that lucrative plan for him, not just in money, in financial stuff, talking about titles and things like that.
Who's your opponents, or who's the matchup on January 13th in New Orleans?
I think it'll be LSU Ohio State. I do think both games could be. I don't think neither game will be some blowout or something. I think we're going to have two good semifinal games. But I think the teams that have been the best all year, LSU, Ohio State, that are going back and forth, will end up winning and being in New Orleans.
Ross, why were you following me into the bathroom constantly Saturday? 4 times when I went to go to the bathroom, you were right there next to me.
Yeah. Every time I looked up from the urinal, there was T-Bob. I can't explain it except I guess our cycles were on the same.
There you go. Rivers had the same explanation.
That's what he said during the commercial break. Oh, that is excellent, Ross.
All right, Delly, enjoy New York, man. I hate to know that. I hate the fact that you won't be there this weekend when we show up, but we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. See you.